This fish saved a man's life. In 2019, a 23-year-old man is brought to hospital with severe burns in his arms after being involved in a gunpowder explosion. His burns are severe, he needs new tissue. But resources are limited, doctors need to think outside the box. So they used the skin of tilapia fish. After washing and sterilizing the skin, they used it to cover the burns. They found that fish skin contains high levels of collagen, and this collagen acts as a scaffold for wound healing. It was like a biological band-aid. After just 12 days of treatment with the fish skin, new skin had formed. This is a process known as epithelialization, and it's currently undergoing trials to see if it can be used for deeper burns. This is why gingers burn. Our skin contains melanocytes, which dump a pigment known as melanin on keratinocytes to protect them against UV light. The melanin pigment enters the keratinocyte thanks to the MC1R gene. But redheads have a mutation in the MC1R gene, the melanocortin 1 receptor. And when the sun blasts UV radiation onto the skin, the genes in the skin cells start to mutate. And this is a big reason why redheads, who only account for 1% of the population, account for 16% of melanomas. This is why you should never sleep in contact lenses. The cornea is the outer clear covering of the eye and is about as thick as a credit card. The cornea has no blood flow, so it relies on oxygen from the air. When you sleep in contacts, the oxygen reaching your cornea is reduced. Great for bacteria that love dark, damp places with no oxygen and no movement. When you blink throughout the day, you're cleaning your contact lenses. So when you sleep, you're not blinking, so you're not cleaning. Bacteria can grow and infect the cornea, basically eating away at it. This is a corneal ulcer caused by the bacteria Pseudomonas. Some infections, even if they go away, can be so bad they scar the surface of the eye, the cornea. Corneal scarring can result in permanent changes to your vision, so it looks like this. This medical scandal will shock you. In the 1950s and 60s, thalidomide was sold as a wonder drug to help with the effects of morning sickness in pregnant women. Everything seemed great until later next year, thousands of infants were born with severe birth defects, deformed limbs, brain injuries. Back then, scientists did not think that medication could affect a fetus. And unfortunately, thousands of women took thalidomide during its 5 years on the market. The effects were horrendous. Across 46 countries, more than 10,000 children were born with defects like phocomelia. This disorder commonly results in abnormalities to the arms or legs. And more than 50 years after thalidomide was released, Grunenthal Group, the company behind it, finally issued an apology in 2012. Too little, too late.
If you understand why pizza is made round, packed in a square box, and eaten in a triangle, then, my friend, you understand women.
This is why you should never hold in a sneeze. A 34-year-old man pinched his nose and held in his sneeze. He heard a pop in his neck and immediate pain and swelling. He couldn't swallow or speak. Doctors realized that by holding in his sneeze, he'd torn a hole in his throat, specifically his pharynx. This is air behind the pharynx, it shouldn't be there. And this is air in the soft tissues just in front of your windpipe, the trachea. The air trapped in his tissues made his throat like bubble wrap. They did a CT scan. These little dark areas here are air bubbles. It was tracking down his chest. He had to be fed through a drip in his arm for a week because he couldn't eat, and given a week of antibiotics to stop infections. Sneezes can travel upwards of 50 miles an hour. You want that going out, not back inside you. Keeping in that high pressure can cause damage in other places. Next time you have a sneeze, let it rip. Into your elbow or into a tissue.
Check this out, it's gonna blow your mind. The very first 10 words in the Bible says, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth." For our universe to exist, it has to have time, space, and matter. Continuum. In other words, they all have to happen at the same time. Time cannot happen first, space cannot happen first, or matter cannot happen first. They had to all three simultaneously happen at the same time. In the Bible, first 10 words says it. Beginning, time, heaven, space, earth, matter. It gets better. Time, space, and matter is the trinity of the Trinity. In other words, time has past, present, and future. Space has length, width, and height, and matter has solid, liquid, and gas. Just the first 10 words in the Bible says a lot about our universe. And whether you like it or not, Jesus is king.